Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Hogan's Headlines. It's me, Dylan. I'm back for another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, always and forever. I'm sorry for the lack of posting and the missing of weeks that I've had, the missing of episodes that I was supposed to put out that didn't come out. Issue was my YouTube account got hacked and I wasn't able to put out videos. Got a little bit of a ban. Videos that were not mine were going to my channel and I was not able to put out episodes, but we are back. I also had a spring break, so I wasn't really able to get out there and be here in the studio as it was closed for the week, but I'm very happy to be back. I am planning and hoping to record as much as I can for the next about 4 weeks or so, put out at least another 10 episodes. And I think that this is a great time to put out episodes. We have the NBA finishing the regular season, going into the playoffs and play in. MLB just started with opening day weekend this last weekend, and football news is off the roof. NFL draft is coming in. NHL is just finishing up. We got a lot to talk about. So, what should we talk about first? I think I want to discuss the NBA season. What a weekend it was, what a couple weeks it's been. It's probably been the craziest month of basketball that I've ever seen, and this playoffs and playing is going to be unbelievable. I want to talk about so much, I don't really know where to start. So let's discuss the big topic of basketball right now, which is the Western Conference. Really seeds 5 through 10, maybe even 11, possibly 12, are so close. I've truly never seen this kind of dogfight for playoffs. And with the play-in, it just makes things so much more crazy and difficult. So right now, as constructed, today is April 3rd. It is 11:15 a.m. The 5 seed is the LA Clippers, and they are 41 and 38. The 12 seed, the Utah Jazz, is 4.5 games behind them, and they're 36 and 42. The craziest thing about this whole thing, the 5 seed LA Clippers, who I just mentioned were 41 and 38, are only 2 games ahead of the 9 seed Minnesota Timberwolves. And this is a big deal. The play-in is a spot where, as happy you are that you are in the playoffs or the play-in tournament, you want to be secure in the playoffs. So a lot of these teams like the Clippers, the Warriors, the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, the Thunder are all trying to make that last minute push to jump into the actual playoffs and avoid the play-in. There have been some teams that have really impressed me over this last weekend. Really, one of them being my team, the LA Lakers. I'm sporting an LA Lakers sweater right now because I'm just so impressed with them as of recently. They are 7 and 3 in their last 10, have won 6 of their last 7 against pretty quality teams. Honestly, they took out the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are a play-in team. They took out the Phoenix Suns. They took out Oklahoma City. They did lose 10 on Sunday, March 6th, 26th. I'm sorry, to the Chicago Bulls. That was a bit unfortunate, but they did get their revenge a couple days later at Chicago, taking out the Bulls. They have a pretty good chance of making the actual top 6 playoff seeds. They're only a half game behind the Clippers and Warriors, who are tied for the 5 and 6 seed. I don't see them catching up to the Suns, who they're 3 games behind in the 4 seed. I don't really think it's possible. They actually play the Suns later on. The Suns are on a pretty nice win streak right now. I'll get to that a little bit later. But I don't see why not. I don't see them not making the playoffs. I mean, they're definitely gonna make the play-in, no question about that. The teams that are behind them, the Pelicans, Timberwolves, Thunder, Mavs, they're all better than. They have 2 more games against the Jazz. They play tomorrow night, Tuesday, April 4th, at Utah, and then Wednesday, April 5th, back here in LA at the Clippers. Friday, April 7th, they have versus Phoenix in their last regular season game. Sunday, April 9th, versus Utah again. I kind of want to discuss these games. I think best case scenario they go 3-1. I can definitely see them taking both games against Utah. As tough it is to play in Utah, I think that they can definitely take that. They're rolling right now. Anthony Davis has scored 38 points in 2 of the last 3 games, and yesterday he scored 40. He's been on a pretty quality run. Utah doesn't really have a match for Anthony Davis. I think that Lauri Markkanen's great, but I just don't see him stopping the monster that is AD when he wants to be a monster. Can they beat the LA Clippers a day later? Yes, but it depends. If AD's playing, if LeBron's 100%, if D'Lo's playing, is Kawhi playing, is Paul George playing? I mean, all of these questions I expect the answer to be yes because they're vying for some quality playoff spots. But the Clippers are tough. I get that it's neutral ground because you're playing in the same arena, it's the same city. So, what really is the home team? But it's going to be tough. The Clippers do have the Lakers number, and they've had it for the last couple of years. The last time they played was January 24th. Um, Clippers won by 18. Before that, they played. Trying to run it back. They haven't played on. Okay, November 9th, Clippers won by 13. And then earlier this season, second game of the season, the Clippers won by 6. So they have not beaten the Clippers this year. This would be a great time to snap that streak and take it, maybe go 3-1 these last four, end up with a record of what would be a 43-39. That would be best case scenario in my opinion, but I think more likely would be them going 42-40 and end up just beating winning the two games against Utah and losing against Clippers and Suns. I don't see them beating the Suns as much as I would love to see that happen. I just think that KD, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Ayton, when they're all playing, it's going to be a tough matchup. I think the only thing that the Lakers have going for them against the Suns would be seeding. So the Suns are currently 4 games behind the 3 seed, who are the Sacramento Kings, and they are 2.5 games ahead of the LA Clippers. If somehow, some way they get to the Suns and Lakers game and they have just secured the 4 spot, they have no place of going either better or worse, they might just sit out KD, Devin Booker, keep them healthy. If they end up sitting those guys out, then yeah, the Lakers can definitely win the next 4 games. But it just depends on seeding. It all varies on that. So it would be great if Phoenix can just secure the 4 seed, go no better, no worse, and just sit out KD and um, Devin Booker. I'm sorry, I can't think of these names right now. But the NBA has been unbelievable. And one team that I really, really, really want to discuss is the Dallas Mavericks and how historically awful they have been. Because they traded for Kyrie at the trade deadline. We all decided on this being, oh, they're just going to go all out offense. They were a terrible rebounding team, defensive team. They had really no other help but Luka, and then they traded everything else, defense, size, rebounding, everything that they were terrible at. They got rid of the best players for that and just doubled down on offense. And this has not worked out for them. They have lost 7 of their last 8. They have won 3 of the last 13 games. What is going on with this team? I get if you want to mention injuries, sure, that's fine. But it's not going to change the fact that Luka and Kyrie have played 13 games together and won 4. That's not going to cut it. If you want to vie for these playoff spots, right now you're not even in the play-in. You're behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have not been great in the last 2 weeks. They're just letting you jump into that 10 spot, and you're just letting them take it. It's not okay. You need to be better. And looking at their schedule, that like the last couple of games that they have played, all the way dating back to March 8th was the start of this big losing streak when they've won 3 of the last 13. One of these 10 losses, they have lost by more than double digits. And they lost 104-88 on Monday, March 13th against Memphis in Dallas. But they have lost the other games against 7 points, 4 points, 2 points, overtime, 3 points. Like, they're losing these close games, but they just can't finish them. And you have to win these close games if you want to make the play-in. You have to be that good of a team, and right now they're not. So I predicted the Mavericks to stay in the 6, 7, 8 spot when I did the predictions earlier in the year, but now with them in the 11 spot, I just don't see them even getting remotely close. I don't know if they can make the play-in. I think the Thunder have an actually better chance of making the play-in. They're ahead a game ahead of the Mavericks at the moment, and Shea has been unbelievable. So we will just have to see what happens with this team. The remaining games that they have are going to be Wednesday, April 5th. Luckily for them, their last 3 games are at home. So if there's any time to win, it's going to be now. Wednesday, April 5th versus Sacramento, that's probably going to be a loss. The last 2 games versus Chicago and versus San Antonio. San Antonio, you have to win. Chicago, you have to win. Sacramento, I don't know. It's kind of the same thing with the whole Suns situation where they're 2 games. They're right now, the Kings are in the 3rd spot. They are 2 games behind the Grizzlies for the 2 spot, and they're 4 games ahead of the Suns for the 3 spot. So let's say the Kings can't go anywhere worse or best. I mean, they're still going to win it. I don't know. The Mavericks are not winning the game. Sorry, guys. The East is all but settled, if that kind of makes sense. For only one team that's not currently scheduled for the play-in, which is the Orlando Magic, are not eliminated. The Wizards, Pacers, Hornets, and Pistons are all eliminated from playoff contention. The Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, Cavaliers, and Knicks have all clinched a playoff spot. The Bucks are pretty much got the 1 spot situated. They're 2 games ahead of the Celtics. Their magic number is 3. So if they have a combined 3 wins or losses by the Bucks or losses by the Celtics, then they've secured the 1 spot. So that's really theirs to take, which they deserve. Giannis deserves MVP at this point. He's just unbelievable. Play-ins right now, we have the 7-seed Heat, 8-seed Hawks, 9-seed Raptors who have clinched the play-in, and the Bulls are at the 10 spot. I don't see the East changing much as it is right now. Maybe the Raptors and Hawks flip-flop from 8 and 9 just because they're tied with the same record at 39 and 39. So maybe changes happen there, but other than that, I think that this is going to relatively stay the same. I think the Raptors could definitely take the 8 spot. They've been a little bit better than the Hawks as of late. One team that I also want to mention, because I think the West is a little more interesting than the East right now, with just how many teams are fighting for play-in and playoff spots. One team I want to mention is the New Orleans Pelicans, who are also on a Lakers-style run. They've won 7 of their last 8. They beat teams like the Clippers twice. Once in LA, they beat Denver in Denver. They beat San Antonio, Houston, and Charlotte, who are all teams they should be, and Portland as well. BI, Brandon Ingram's been on a very nice run as of late. And they only lost in the last 8 games was at Golden State, which is completely reasonable just because Golden State is a juggernaut at home, but garbage away. So if they're playing in New Orleans, I guarantee you New Orleans would have won that game. They are currently sitting at a record of 40 and 38, tied in the 7 and 8 spot with the Lakers, only a half game behind the Clippers and the Warriors, who are in the 5 and 6 spot. Their last 4 games are going to be versus Sacramento tomorrow, which they're being in New Orleans. So their last, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think about this. My brain does not work at the moment. The next 3 games are home in New Orleans. Last game is away. They play Sacramento, Memphis, and New York, who are all really good, all playoff teams. That's going to be tough. And then their last game is at Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, it's going to be tough. They have really a tough schedule remaining, but that doesn't stop them. They beat the Clippers twice. They beat the Nuggets. They've beaten Portland twice. They beat the Dallas Mavericks. So they can beat these teams. They just really got to put a foot on the gas and try and keep it up. If I had to guess, maybe they win 2 of the next 4. It's going to be tough, though. They would definitely have to be at Minnesota and maybe the Knicks, but Knicks have been on a nice run, too. So I don't know. It's going to be a next tough 4 games. So props to you, Pelicans, for getting this far. I think you're making the play-in. That's not a question about it, but good luck. Truly, I kind of want to see them in the play-in. I like Zion. I like B.I. I like Jonas Valanciunas. I like C.J. McCollum. So I hope you guys end up making it. So the Suns are also a team to look out for. They've won their last 5 against 5 really quality teams. They won home against Philly, at Utah, first home against Minnesota and Denver, and then also last night at Oklahoma City. KD returned recently. The last 2 games, he scored 30 and 35. Like I said earlier, I just don't see them moving from the 4 spot. I think that's just kind of theirs to keep. I mean, good for you. It's not a bad place to be. You're going to have a home section in the first round. You'll probably end up being matched with the Nuggets if all things are working out the way they should, which will be another tough series. It's going to be good. The Nuggets have been great, but I mean, they started out a lot better than they have been recently. Their last four games for Phoenix, home against San Antonio, that's going to be a win. At home against Denver, we'll see. At LA Lakers and home against the Clippers. So they got a relatively tough next four games. They're definitely beating San Antonio, but the other three are kind of up in the air. One player I want to mention again, Giannis. I think he's the MVP, averaging 31.1 points per game, which is fifth in the league, 11.8 rebounds per game, which is third in the league, 5.6 assists, shooting 55.3% from the field. He's been on a tear. He's probably going to win his third MVP. He deserves it. They're probably going to clinch the one seed. They're easily the best team in the league. They have the most depth. They can play home and away. If I had to put $100 on it right now, I think the Bucks are winning the championship, and they deserve it. I love Giannis. He's ultra talented. He'll go down as one of the best players of all time, in my opinion. What I don't really know. I have no words to say about him. He's just unbelievable. Truly, he's talented beyond reason. I truly, I'm not lying to you. He is going to be one of the best players of all time. Maybe he's definitely the best Bucks player of all time. Not a question about it. He's better than Oscar Robertson was as a Buck. He's better than Kareem was as a Buck. I'm not saying he's better than Kareem all time because Kareem played for the Lakers, but as a Buck in his Bucks career, Giannis is the best Buck ever. Statistics say it. I mean, argue with the wall if you think that I'm wrong. Statistics back me up on this one. Let's adjust from hostility and arguments, and let's jump into something way more exciting. The baseball season is underway. Baseball. We love baseball. Baseball's incredible. I love going to baseball games. I love baseball in general. Always have. We already know that I'm a big Dodgers fan. Definitely going to try to see some games later this year, but let's discuss opening day weekend, winners and losers. Number one winner, in my opinion, Tampa Bay Rays. They put the hurting home home in Tampa Bay against the Detroit Tigers. They won 4-0 on opening day, and then they proceeded to beat them 12-2 on April 1st and 5-1 on April 2nd, making it out to be them winning by a total of 21-3 in those three games. We know the Tigers are bad. That's not a question. I'm not worried about the Tigers whatsoever, but it's good that the Rays came out and showed everyone that, listen, we're not a team to mess with. We have an elite rotation. Once Tyler Glasnow comes back, he's elite. It's probably going to have the best rotation in the league. They're going to be hard to beat. They're in probably, well, maybe not the best division in the league, but definitely up there. I would say that it's hard to argue that the AL East is not the best division because they have the Yankees, the Rays, the Orioles are going to be great, the Blue Jays are phenomenal. The only team in that division that's not great is the Red Sox. So that's a good team. Tigers end up facing the Nationals at Washington for the next three games. They got Drew Rasmussen for tonight, and they have Shane McClanahan in the next couple days. And they got Fleming on the 4th. So I anticipate them winning. I mean, the next three series are kind of cakewalk. They have at Washington Nationals and then home against the A's and the Red Sox. So can they start the season off maybe, I don't know, 11-2? Yeah, they can. They have at Toronto after that, so that's going to be tough, but they can definitely start the season off 11-2. Better, 13-0? I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. They're amazing. It's hard to do, incredibly hard to do, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. So another winner I have of this last opening day weekend was the Texas Rangers. They won opening day 11-7 versus the Phillies, and then April 1st beat the Phillies 16-3, and then Sunday, April 2nd, took out the Phillies 2-1. Nathan Eovaldi and Martin Perez, Red Sox legends, both got the win. And then opening day, Jacob DeGrom ended up not getting the win, but Rangers took the dub. The Phillies are a tough team to kind of gauge on where they are, just because they are the reigning NL champs, but they're injured all hell. Bryce Harper's out for at least the first half of the season with Tommy John, and then Rhys Hoskins is out for what looks to be the entire year. So the team is banged up. I know they got Trey Turner in free agency, and he's going to be phenomenal, but it's going to be an interesting start to the season. If I had to guess for the Phillies, I just don't see them getting anywhere better than like 500 for the first part of the season. They're in a tough division with the Braves and the Mets. I mean, it's going to be tough for the Phillies to kind of keep it up. And then if they're behind in the third, maybe even the fourth seed in their division, by the time Bryce Harper comes back, can they make that jump with just Bryce Harper's contribution? I mean, yes, but it's going to be tough. Like, they really have to win a good amount of games before he comes back to even stay afloat. So I also want to discuss my LA Dodgers. They had a 4-game home series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. One opening day, 8-2, with Julio Urias taking the dub. They ended up losing the next game 2-1, with Alex Vesia taking the loss. April 1st, amazing game, won 10-1. Clayton Kershaw got the W, and Trace Thompson hit 3 home runs. And then yesterday they took a 2-1 loss against the Diamondbacks. It was a tough loss, but I mean, it is what it is. They went 2-2. They got the Diamondbacks later in the week, so if you're gonna get your revenge, there you go. Noah Syndergaard looked great. Dustin May looked great. So the pitching, in my opinion, is not awful. It's actually fantastic because the most Diamondbacks scored in these last 4 games 2, 2, 1, and 2. So defense is all time. Pitching is all time. It's the offense that's been up and down. They scored 8 in the first game, 2 in the next, 10 in the third game, 2 in the fourth. So I want them to find this consistency where they can score 5 to 6 runs each game. I know that's unbelievably tough, but it's kind of what they're going to need. This team is not as hyped as the last couple were, with Trey Turner being on the teams before, Manny Machado, and Hugh Darvish. They traded for Max Scherzer. So they had the spotlight on them and the marker on their backs to win the championship for the last 5 years. This year, they're not even favored to win the division with the Padres in that spot. I think that this is actually a really good thing for the Dodgers because they can go out there. They're incredibly young with James Outman playing, Miguel Vargas. They got a bunch. Dustin May is amazing. So I'm excited to watch this team. I really wish that Gavin Lux could be a part of it, but what are you gonna do? Freddie Freeman's still there, Mookie Betts is still there, Will Smith is still there, Chris Taylor is still there, Trace Thompson, Kershaw. The team is ultra talented. Can they go out there and win 100 games? They can. If they stay healthy. If the young rookies are who we think they are, of course they can. Can they win the division? They can. It's going to be tough because the Padres are mega talented, but it's not impossible. They have a 2-game home stint starting today against the Rockies, where Michael Grove will pitch. Michael Grove, yes, I'm sorry. He's also incredible. He's only 26 years old, so he'll be fun to watch. And then they have Julio Urias pitching tomorrow against Ramin Marquez. And then they have a 4-game stint in Arizona with Dustin May, Clayton Kershaw, and Noah Syndergaard starting the first 3 games. Also, can I just say the Dodgers made Mad Bum look like a bum? A true bum. He needs to retire. His prime is out of the way. I'm sorry to tell you, but Mad Bum, you got to hang it up, man. You got to know when it's time, and your time has come and gone. Let's also discuss another LA team, the LA Angels, because they have had a pretty interesting start to their season. They had a 3-game away stint in Oakland when they played the A's. They lost opening day where Shohei Ohtani pitched 2-1. He didn't take the loss. He was incredible. 6 innings, 10 strikeouts. And then Saturday, April 1st, they destroyed the A's 13-1 and then yesterday, April 2nd, they killed the A's again 6-0. So again, the Angels I'm confused about because they have talent like galore. They have the two best players probably in the entire league with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. I mean, it's hard to argue against Aaron Judge, but let's put that aside. But they're in a division where I just don't see them winning. Astros are incredible. They're the remaining champs. Mariners are incredible. What do we think of the Rangers? And then the AL wildcard spots are going to be hard to take. You got the AL East with the Blue Jays, Yanks, Rays, Orioles. So, is there a playoff spot for them? I don't know. I don't think so. I'll go into my own MLB predictions, playoff predictions later this week. I got that episode already on ideas. But it's not that the Angels can't be in the playoffs because they're this talented. I just don't have faith in them because I don't want to be disappointed. Because I put faith in them every year, and then they win 70 games. So, are we going to waste another year of Mike Trout, and is Shohei Ohtani going to get traded midway through the season because you're 500? Is he going to leave in free agency and go to a team that can sign him for $600 million like the Dodgers? What's going on? So, I'm interested to see what happens with the Angels this year. Let's start off this first real series that they have. They're playing at Seattle tonight. Reed Detmers is facing off against, I'm sorry, I can't remember this man's first name, George Kirby. He's not bad. He went 8-5 last year with a 3.3 ERA. I mean, they got Jose Suarez pitching the next day against Luis Castillo, and then they have Ohtani pitching in the last game on Wednesday, April 5th. And then they got the Blue Jays after that, so they're going to have a next 6 game of tough playoff teams. I would love to see them win at least 3 of them and go 500 in these next 6 games. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough. I also want to discuss one thing, which is the biggest storyline in baseball probably of the last, should we say 30 years? Maybe 20, because the Barry Bonds home run situation was probably unbelievable. I just wasn't really knowledgeable of baseball at the time. But the rule changes of baseball have been night and day. So we know about the rule changes themselves, the pitch clock, the hit clock, the shift changes, the bases getting bigger. That's stuff that we already discussed. But I want to talk about the actual results of these changes from opening day weekend. So over the first 3 days of baseball, 35 total games. The games are faster. The average game time was 2 hours and 41 minutes, which is 23 minutes faster than the average 9-inning game of last season. Batters are now hitting .310 on balls in play, which is up from .292 of last season. And then stolen base attempts have risen just a little bit from 1.3 to 1.6 per game, but the success rate has jumped to 87.5% from last year's 74. All this information, by the way, coming from the New York Times. The last bit with the stolen base success rate is amazing, and it's incredible to think that just over 3 games, it's jumped nearly 14% because of the bases getting bigger, because of the limited amount of times that the pitcher can pick off the man at first base and second base, and really even third as well, but no one's stealing home. I also really appreciate this idea of them pushing the game time to be faster. It's captivated audiences. I've seen a lot more people be interested in baseball from my friends, my people at work. They are more interested because now they're not as bored. Like, personal example, my girlfriend and I have been to a couple baseball games, and while she does enjoy it, but she's not the biggest baseball fan, and she finds it to be boring because she's there for 3.5 hours sometimes. We went to a game that went to 11 innings, and it nearly went 4 hours. And I can just tell that she's kind of over it after the first hour and a half, 2 hours. So Now that we have games that are lasting just over 2 hours, 2.5 hours, some even at most of 2 hours and 45 minutes, it's incredible. It's captivating audiences. It's lighting up offense because last year's season was, let's just be honest, a bit boring because they took the hits down a little bit. They stopped juicing the balls. There weren't home runs like crazy except for Aaron Judge because he's the best. But it's captivating audiences. It's going to get them more viewership. It's going to get them more ticket sales, which is what they want. So it's going to work. And I think that they're going to keep this. I think that they might modify a little bit over the next couple of years because this is the first year that some gigantic rule change has happened. But I'm excited to see the rest of the year's statistics on this stuff. Are we going to see a game under 2 hours? Are we going to see a game that even goes close to 3.5? Is that possible? Is that going to have to go to like 16 innings? So I think that there's going to be definite records broken for stolen bases. That's not a question. I think that we can definitely see players like Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, Vlad Jr. all jumping over 40 home runs because now pitchers are timed to throw a good pitch. And I get that the hitter can be affected by this too, but I think that this does affect the pitchers a little bit more. So we'll see. I love sports right now. Let's just say that I'm lucky to be here and talk about baseball and talk about basketball, discuss all this stuff with you on the mic, and be in this position. Other than this, I will say that there's really nothing else I want to discuss for today. I think that I've gotten all my thoughts out. And thank you for listening. I'm planning on putting out another episode this week, hopefully coming out on Thursday, maybe Wednesday. We'll see. And I want to do an MLB preview. You're going to get my picks for the playoffs, how I think the playoff picture is going to look, and how I think, or who I think is going to win the MVPs, the Cy Youngs, Rookie of the Year, all that kind of good stuff. So thank you for listening. I will catch you guys all later, and have a wonderful day. Again, be safe, and I love you guys. Take care.